28 million children across the nation and over 1.5 million children across our region who require this vaccine. Don't be in any doubt. Not only is this a safe and a highly effective vaccine needed to protect our community, but it is necessary as we can protect every child in our community who may be susceptible to the rare but potentially lethal complications of COVID-19 infection. Working together to make this commitment a reality and to answer the questions that parents have about the vaccine. Now I'd like to invite Mayor Lightfoot to the podium.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Cunningham, and thank you to all of your colleagues who are here with us and the legion of pediatric healthcare providers who are going to be joining in this effort to make sure that we get our kids a safe vaccine. It's my pleasure to join city, healthcare, and community leaders here today. As Dr. Cunningham said, this has been a question that's been on the mind of parents and many since we started talking about vaccines for adults. Parents and guardians will now have the opportunity to ensure the safety of their young ones, which will not only make the spaces in which they interact with others safe, but propel us towards accomplishing our citywide goal of vaccinating as many of our residents as possible. Just like every other announcement that we've made about vaccines through this pandemic, our message remains the same. The vaccine is safe, it is free, and it is widely available, and fundamentally is the best defense that we have against COVID-19. Whether you're 5 years old or 85 years old, like other pediatric vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccine was thoroughly tested before being recommended. Clinical trials with thousands of children 5 years and older showed that Pfizer COVID-19 to be safe and effective. And millions of adolescents in the U.S. have received vaccines on the most intensive safety monitoring in U.S. history. And although there have been fewer COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations among a pediatric COVID-19 case, and overall facilitate a safe return to a sense of normalcy. I know that many parents out there are breathing a huge sigh of relief. Furthermore, just like any other vaccine rollout we facilitated over this past year, equity and inclusion will be at the center of this one as well, as hospitalization rates are 3 times higher for Black, Latinx, and American Indian children. As I've said many times throughout the course of this crisis, we all have an important role to play when it comes to protecting one another. And we must eliminate any and all barriers that threaten to keep residents, especially those who are the most vulnerable to COVID-19, from taking up their shared responsibility and ending this crisis. That's why we're calling upon you to protect your health on next Friday, November 12th. Next Friday, city employees will have 2 hours of paid time to take their children to get vaccinated, as well as get vaccinated for the first time themselves or to get a booster shot. COVID-19 vaccines for children and adults are now available across the city right now. For a list of locations, please go to chicago.gov/COVID-vax. That's chicago.gov/COVID-vax. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my hope and expectation that other institutions and businesses will follow the city's lead and allow their workers to also take time off on the 12th or any other day to vaccinate themselves and their young ones. And puts us one step closer to putting this pandemic behind us once and for all. I'm thankful to the many city, healthcare, and community leaders for making this moment possible and all of the hard work they've done over the past 20 months to keep our residents and our city safe. Only by working together can we move forward into the post-pandemic healthy future that we all crave and that we all deserve. So thank you all. And right now I'd like to bring up our Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Allison Arway.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you so much to all of my pediatric colleagues who are here today or across the city. It has been pediatric infectious diseases here at University of Chicago. Dr. Frank Belmonte from Advocate Children's Hospital, Dr. Larry Kosiolek from Lurie Children's Hospital, Dr. Marielle Friccione from Rush Children's Hospital, and Dr. Rachel Kasky, Pediatric Primary Care, University of Illinois Health. That was a long list because there are a lot of pediatricians who are absolutely thrilled to be spreading the word about this safe, effective, and very available vaccine here in Chicago. I promised you last week this wouldn't be like the Hunger Games. And it's not. There's about 210,000 Chicagoans between the ages of 5 and 11. Already, as of yesterday, Chicago had received more than 50,000 pediatric doses for that age group, and we're on track to have received about 100,000. That CPS will be having a day off for promoting vaccine. You've heard the mayor say that that day City of Chicago employees will have 2 hours off to get themselves a booster, because it's also about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving next Friday. If you're due for a booster, get it then so that you're able to be the most protected as possible for protection we can all gather by the time of Thanksgiving. But really today is about the kids, and I've been talking to my own young nieces and nephews in this age group. They're a little nervous because there's been a lot of conversation about this shot, but they're also really excited because they've been hearing for more than a year that as soon as they can get that vaccine, they'll be able to do the things that they love. They've been asking me, because they know I work in this space, can I come to Chicago? Do you have a way to get this earlier? And I told them no, but I was really pleased to be able to start telling them on Wednesday that they now could do it, and it's just great to be in this place. So really with that, encourage you to make your plans to get your vaccine sometime between now. Thanks again for being here and for sharing our excitement in this move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Arwady. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, and all of our amazing medical professionals. This is a historic day. It has just been a few days since we had our 5 to 11-year-old vaccines being approved. Quiero pedirle gracias a la doctora Arwady, a nuestro alcalde, todos los profesionales médicos que están aquí. Este día es tan importante porque ya están aprobados ya las vacunas para niños de 5 a 11 años. it was a difficult decision for us to cancel classes on Friday the 12th, and I know that it's creating challenges for our parents. We are working with the Park District, we're working with the libraries, we're working with our community providers to provide family support. But it is so important, as we look at the rest of the school year to make this key investment now, to make sure that our children can get vaccinated. Yo sé que es difícil para nuestros padres que tuvimos que cancelar clases el día 12 de noviembre, pero es tan importante ahorita para hacer la inversión para el resto del año para nuestros niños, porque tenemos que empezar a protegerlos. We have to start protecting our children. Our teachers. Yo sé que ahorita que nuestros niños todavía tenemos casos, aunque estén bajos, pero tenemos que sacarlos de los salones. Es tan difícil para los padres, es tan difícil para nuestros maestros. Recibiendo las vacunas para nuestros niños que están seguras, están gratis, no les van a pedir nada de están trabajando con su inmigración, no van a tener que preocuparse de nada de eso. The shots are free. The shots are safe. Our families who may be undocumented, none of that information is requested. I just urge all of our families to get vaccinated. Tenemos que empezar a proteger a nuestros niños. Nosotros sabemos que con las navidades, con familias que se juntan, siempre tenemos más casos, y cuando tenemos más casos tenemos que sacar más niños de los salones y no tenemos estabilidad en los salones. With the holidays, the risk is when we have more cases, we have to quarantine more children. It creates instability in our classrooms. So again, parents, I know this is hard, but we need, myself as a father of a 5 to 11-year-old, as soon as the news came out, I'll tell you, every time my wife and I go out with our children, we always have to worry, is this the day? Is this the day that our children are going to get COVID? Is this the day of something that they could be put at risk? And so I know as all parents, we all worry about that. So again, I urge all of our families, please, November 12th, we're going to have our vaccination clinics open. We're going to have our not only our regional sites, we'll have mobile clinics. We're working with Dr. Awadi so that we can partner with all of our healthcare providers. As the mayor said, thank you, Mayor, for your leadership. City employees are going to time to vaccinate their children. I'm urging all of my teachers and principals. Again, many of them will be volunteering at different sites, but I'm urging them, please get your own children vaccinated. Ese día del 12, la ciudad está dejando los empleados de la ciudad tener 2 horas para que puedan ayudar a sus niños que estén vacunados. También voy a hacer lo mismo con los empleados de nosotros. Estoy urgiendo a todos nuestros directores, todos los maestros que lleven sus niños también para que reciban sus vacunas. Everybody, let's send a message as a city that we are going to protect our children. We're going to invest in the rest of the school year by making sure our children are safe. Thank you, everyone. And now I'm going to ask Dr. Frank Belmonte to come up. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is quite an exciting week for dramatic increase in COVID-19 in children due to the Delta variant. Over 5 million children have been diagnosed in the U.S. Thousands have been hospitalized, and over 600 children nationwide also a life-threatening condition, and we have seen multiple cases here in Chicago and thousands across the nation. Children have died from this condition as well. We still do not know the long-term effects of COVID-19. If your child gets COVID, it could negatively impact their future health. I have heard so many parents over the last few weeks say, "I'm going to wait and see." Now is not the time for wait and see. With the holidays just around the corner, get your child vaccinated. Let's put an end to this pandemic. I now welcome Dr. Allison Bartlett to the podium.
To 11-year-olds. In these clinical trials, it included over 3,000 children who received the vaccine and many more who received a placebo or saline injection. Dose that maximizes their immune response and minimizes the side effects. A dose that is 1/3 of the dose that we're giving to adults and older children is the right amount for young children's healthy, active immune systems to generate an antibody response that's similar to that we've seen for adolescents and young adults and protects them against infection. Kids 5 to 11 see the same types of side effects with the vaccine as older adults. Soreness at the injection site, tiredness, muscle aches, with about the same frequency. These effects last a day or two and go away. We all have to make a decision to vaccinate our children or not. Whichever you choose, there are risks and benefits associated with that decision. With that in mind, I do want to spend a moment briefly addressing a particular safety concern that I know many parents have. We have seen cases of myocarditis, or inflammation of the heart, in about 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 young adults, predominantly young men between the ages of 16 and 24 after vaccination. It's very important to know that COVID-19 infection and the pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome that Dr. Belmonte just mentioned also cause myocarditis, and they cause myocarditis that is more severe and much more frequent. To say it again, the risk of myocarditis with vaccine is much lower, and the illness it causes is much less severe and goes away on its own. There were no cases of myocarditis seen in the 5 to 11-year-old group that were involved in this trial. But again, our extensive monitoring systems are going to remain in place to continue to learn more. I want to take my doctor hat off for a moment and put my mom hat on. I've got 3 sons. I have twins who turned 12 last month. That was never a very big, exciting, monumental birthday until last month. They got their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine shortly after their birthday. They're going to get their second dose on Tuesday. I also have a 9-year-old who's here with us behind me today who is going to get his vaccine later today. I am so excited that we are going to be a fully protected family by mid-December. Clinical trials in children and the intense scrutiny have shown the science is clear. The benefits of the vaccine far outweigh the risk. Vaccinating children ages 5 to 11 protects them from infection, protects them from the post-COVID effects like the long COVID syndrome and the multisystem inflammatory syndrome, keeps them in the classroom, allows them to get back to normal. It also contributes to community immunity, helping to keep their family, friends, classmates,
and ultimately really turn the page on this pandemic. That's ultimately our goal. But as an infectious diseases physician, I'm here to talk about remaining vigilant for other infections, particularly particularly influenza. COVID-19 risk mitigation strategies have had the unintended consequences of greatly reducing many other infections in children. This summer, for example, reminded us that we have to be vigilant for other viruses that we normally see in the winter that could return. Respiratory syncytial virus, also known as RSV, is a virus that normally causes very severe respiratory illness in infants and toddlers. Last winter, we didn't see any RSV. This summer, when restrictions lifted, kids returned to school and daycare, we saw a resurgence of RSV, and kids were admitted across the hospital in record volumes for that time of year, many of whom went into the intensive care unit. Similarly, we did not see any influenza last winter. But we fear that just like RSV, soon influenza will make a resurgence. Influenza hospitalizes as many as 25,000 children a year in the United States. On a mild year, several dozen children die of influenza. On a bad year, several hundred die of influenza. 80% of those deaths occur in individuals who are not vaccinated against the flu. Flu vaccine not only prevents deaths, but it prevents hospitalizations and prevents intensive care unit admissions. Fortunately, we know that vaccines can be given at the same time safely and effectively. We've been giving vaccines in combination to children for decades without any compromise in safety or effectiveness. For these reasons, the CDC advises that all individuals should be vaccinated against COVID-19 and influenza this season. Those vaccines can safely be given at the same time or within a short period of each other. Thus, myself and the pediatric leaders here today are advocating that everybody remains up to date, not only for their other scheduled vaccines, but also influenza vaccine as well. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Mariel Frechon from Rush University.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to talk about how the pediatric COVID vaccine is different from the adult version. So the first thing you should know about the pediatric vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds is that the vial is orange, a really nice bright orange, not purple, which my daughter is upset about, but I think many kids will love. More importantly, the new pediatric vaccine is 1/3 of a dose, like Dr. Bartlett mentioned, and it's only 0.2 milliliters, which is just half a teaspoonful of liquid, compared to 0.3 shorter needle, not any different than we do for other routine vaccines. The scientists who conducted the trials, like Dr. Bartlett mentioned, picked 1/3 because I think it's really important for parents to know how closely they thought about the dose for kids. Kids will get 2 doses 21 days apart in order to teach their body how to protect itself. Needle stick, but the process is really no different than any other routine on how to reassure kids.
So I'm going to talk for just a moment about preparing your child for vaccination. It is perfectly normal to be nervous about receiving a vaccine. Children, and frankly, many adults alike, are reticent about the vaccination process. Luckily, vaccines parents and caregivers know their child best. Strategies to prepare for vaccination should be tailored to your child and be age appropriate. Some children feel more comfortable with a detailed discussion about what to anticipate. However, for others, that process could just exacerbate anxiety. Most important is that we, as the adults discussing vaccination, remain calm. Children are very good at reading our emotions. For most kids, distraction eases anxiety. Or a tool to get your child's attention. Similarly, many children, and probably adults alike, are motivated by a small reward or treat after vaccination. So give them something to look forward to. Regardless of the strategy you take with your child, it is important to normalize vaccination as an important health behavior at all, and those around us healthy.
I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the media, my colleague Alejandra Flores up front, she's going to pass down the mic to you. 2 questions per reporters. Do we have any on-topic questions first? All right, Aaron from the Hyde Park Herald.
Hi, one for the CEO of CPS and one for Dr. Cunningham, actually, if you can take it. So you guys have got about a week before the vaccination day at this point. I want to refer to data from, I think, the, not the Pfizer, whatever the, no, the,
Why don't you just ask?
it's, yeah, whatever the polling firm that does all of the health reporting with NPR and that kind of thing did the study that shows about a third of parents are interested in getting the vaccine, a third want to do a wait and see, and a third are saying no right now. You guys have a lot of work to do to convince parents at this point. What is CPS's strategy to get as many parents out in the week that you guys have, at this point? Are you guys sending mailers home? Are you guys doing, online workshops?
Is our partner, so we're going to work with Dr. Arwadi and our own medical professional staff in CPS. So not only are we doing outreach to families, we're giving them information, we're actually giving them information on what providers are going to be available that day to actually for families to be able to walk in. We're going to have it on our website, on the Department of Health's website. So the number one is accessibility, number one. And we're going to be, and I'm going to be doing multiple media events as well, just also pleading to employers, please allow your employees to have some time to get their children vaccinated. The mayor's leading by example. I'm trying to lead my example with our staff. And so for us, it's going to be a full citywide effort. And as well as, like I said, I'm also going to work with the Park District and the libraries and our other providers around community school programs. It's just such a so you're going to hear, half of our 5 to 11-year-olds to get vaccinated. So again, we want to lead by example, but again, we're going to be very aggressive.
Could you summarize that response in
Sí,
Spanish?
sí, sí. No. La pregunta, ¿qué vamos a hacer en el distrito para apoyar a nuestros padres para que puedan, para que lleven a sus niños para recibir las vacunas? Y vamos a hacer, por ejemplo, ahora voy a tener un programa con Telemundo, pero vamos a hacer mucha información por las noticias, pero también comunicando con padres, trabajando con la doctora Arwari para que sepan todos los lugares donde van a poder tener acceso. El 12, no nomás el 12, los meses de noviembre y diciembre vamos a tener más de 100 eventos. Para que puedan recibir vacunas. Yo también estoy apoyando a mis maestros, mis doctores que hagan lo mismo, nuestros empleados que están trabajando ese día. También les vamos a dar tiempo para que puedan llevar sus niños para recibir vacunas. Voy a pedir a todas las empresas de la ciudad que por favor apoyen a sus empleados, que los dejen para que tengan tiempo para llevar sus niños para que reciban sus vacunas. Esto es muy importante para que proteger nuestra comunidad.
We were seeing in children in late September, there was a big news conference at Northwestern with a bunch of representatives from our Chicago Health hospitals. About RSV was mentioned, but a couple of other ones as well. I interviewed you at that one. Everyone here was there at that one as well. But can you give an update about whether we're still seeing the uptake or whether that's declined or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, families and children need to take appropriate precautions, continuing to wear masks, and socially distancing is actually appropriate at this time.
All right, any other on-topic questions? All right, ABC 7. Mark Rivera.
Obviously, this is an important opportunity next week. For those parents that may be frustrated trying to struggle to find childcare, what would you say to them about why this is important still?
Well, first of all, I think what we have to do is make sure that we're providing parents with the opportunity to get some support on that particular day. We're going to be doing that at the city level. You heard CEO Martinez talk about a partnership with the Park District, the libraries. And we're going to be looking at some third-party providers to provide supports for that. But the most important thing is that we get these kids vaccinated. you've heard the statistics over and over again. When you are unvaccinated, you are as extreme risk. And I know from having talked to parents of kids that are younger than takes advantage of this opportunity to really publicize both the safety of the vaccine and the wide availability of it, and that it remains free. Those little kids need to get protected. You've heard all the scientific reasons why, but just like we get children vaccinated on against a range of other childhood illnesses, this has got to be part of that regular cadence of vaccines, and we want to provide our young people and their families with every opportunity to do it. And I hope also for the adults that if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, take that day as an opportunity to get yourself vaccinated, or take that day as an opportunity to get a booster. So there's a lot of reasons why we want to come together as a city next Friday. And we're making this announcement a week in advance to give people time to plan and come up with a plan for their family. But we really, really want to emphasize the importance of people getting vaccinated next Friday.
And are you planning any more pop-up events on that day, on the 12th,
yes.
or vaccination events?
Yeah, I don't know if Dr. Artie wants to speak to that, but the answer is yes. We've got a lot that we're planning for that day, and I'll let Dr. Artie speak to the specifics.
Yeah, we'll have some next week, but I can tell you we anticipate there being vaccine available at more than 200 locations across the city, specifically for pediatrics. Hospitals, as well as planning a little bit around some larger events. But by then, pharmacies are all going to be up and going, able to make appointments. The city will have some opportunities. And then healthcare providers. For folks who have a pediatrician, please be reaching out. Any pediatrician's office in the whole city that wants vaccine can get it. And this has been sort of the effort of, building over this next week or two and making sure that they all can receive it. As always, we prioritized vaccine for some of the hardest hit communities, some of the federally qualified health centers and other larger pediatric clinics, especially in areas that have been hardest hit. But the whole city is going to be able to receive vaccine. And I really want to emphasize the kids, but also, as you've heard, the adults. It's the opportunity for the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the neighbors. Make it a family affair. Let's get it done. Lots of chance to do it.
Thanks, Doctor. We're going to come up front with Carla Leal from Telemundo.
This is a question for Dr. Arworthy or any of the other medical experts. I know the focus right now is 5 to 11-year-olds, but what's the timeline for vaccines for those under 5? And then at the same time, under 11.
Yeah. So, first of all, I love that every time it's sort of what is the timing on the next part. Everybody is excited for more of that. We don't have an exact date yet at this point. There are studies that have already been going on for children all the way down to the age of 6 months. I would expect, don't hold me to it, but perhaps early next year, maybe in that first quarter, we may have vaccines available for those 2 to 4-year-olds, for example. But we don't know that for sure. Always, safety comes first, and then the dosing for these young children, making sure that the right dose is in place, the safety is there. The focus right now is 5 to 11-year-olds, but I do anticipate, given that all the data looks good, that we will see it available for younger children, but probably not till 2022, most likely. Related to Thanksgiving, the most important thing is that anybody who is age eligible has gotten a vaccine around younger children who perhaps are not yet eligible. We'd love to see those 5 to 11-year-olds have at least their first dose. And if they've gotten that first dose and it's, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, for example, which is approximately where Protect Your Health on the 12th is coming in, they'll have at least the beginning of some of that protection. And for younger siblings and those who are not eligible, I do think, depending on the situation, there may be people Thanksgiving because of vaccine. Anyone who has not yet gotten a vaccine and is age eligible in those older categories, please do try to at least have gotten that first dose in. Really, we're also aiming for the end of the year holidays. There's plenty of time to have everybody over the age of 5 fully vaccinated, fully protected by the end of the year. Cases are on the increase here in Chicago. It's gradual at this point. But when it gets cold and we move inside, just like you heard, we tend to see the respiratory viruses surge. I do expect there to continue to be some increase in cases. And I expect that very hard to fall on, unfortunately, unvaccinated families and networks. So the holidays are exciting because we're going to be able to gather in a way that is going to be key.
Thank you. We'll go all the way to the back with Jesse Echevarria from Univision.
For Mr. Martinez, is CPS planning to cancel classes so students can go and get their second doses, or are they going to be getting that absence excuse for that purpose? In Spanish, por favor, if you want to answer in English as well.
Sure. No, no tenemos planes para cancelar clases para la segunda vacuna, pero vamos a trabajar con los padres para que no sea una excusa que the absence would be an excuse. So we're not. The question is, are we to cancel class for the second shot? We're not. Actually, what I really want to do is work with Dr. Arwady around giving guidance to families about how to time that second shot. Voy a trabajar con la doctora Arwady para dar más información a los padres para que puedan planear esa segunda vacuna, porque sabemos que tenemos más días de Thanksgiving que va a llegar y también in las Navidades. So we want to work with Dr. Arwady just to give guidance to parents around how to time that second shot, especially with Thanksgiving coming.
13th and 14th, and then going all the way into January. We'll be having some of these larger peds clinics available, which will also take adults at city colleges all around the city, just like we did for adults. So the first ones of those will be the 13th and 14th. Kids will be able to do second doses at that. We felt that it was important to have a weekday, recognizing that there are pediatric offices that don't always have weekend hours, really wanting to make this stand out. It's an opportunity for parents to take their kids for that first dose, but we've got plenty of capacity to make sure that those second doses are done, and weekends are going to be a big part of that plan, not just the cities, but really with providers all the way into January.
Sure. So the question was,
staff in CPS schools due to personal days, and is that one of the reasons why this day was chosen?
Yeah, we don't have any indicators that was going to be the case. I'll tell you, I would never have canceled classes. In fact, I just don't do that. I actually, once we have a calendar, I know how much parents plan around that calendar. We just don't do that. I don't do that. The only reason that I did that is because we just got approved for 5 to 11-year-olds. And after talking to Dr. Awadi, talking to our team members, we said, look, we need to right now make an investment for the rest of the school year. And the best way to do that is to make sure that our staff are able to get their children vaccinated, and that we can free up our families to be able to, at least for the children not having classes, to be able to get their children vaccinated, because we're still quarantined children. Yo nunca cambio los calendarios. Cuando ya están estos, yo sé cómo los padres planean sus días y su tiempo con esos calendarios de la escuela. La única razón que cambiamos, que cancelamos clases el viernes, quiero mandar un mensaje a todos nuestros padres, todos nuestros empleados, la importancia de empezar a proteger a nuestros niños. It is really about a message about the importance about starting to protect our children, especially right before the holidays are coming. When we know, I've seen it, cases rise after holidays, and so it's just so important for us that we make that investment now for the rest of the school year.
Thank you very much. That concludes our on-topic questions. Let's move on to Mary Ann Ahern from NBC5.
I wonder if Mr. Martinez, as well as the mayor, would comment on the school facilities chief who has been taken out after reports that the schools were so dirty.
So one of the messages that I want to send to all of our community is that we're going to hold ourselves accountable. I won't discuss about specific staff; those are personnel matters. But what I will assure you, whatever challenges are in the district, we are going to make the changes we need to make to hold ourselves accountable. It is unacceptable to me, whether it's issues around the facilities. I was very disturbed even about how not having our contact tracing, our COVID testing up and running. The mayor has been disturbed about that. My commitment to our board, to the mayor, to the parents and the community, we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and I will make changes as needed. And again, just know that that's going to be the way we're going to work. Before managing facilities, he's been managing our capital program. What's great is he also has access to multiple vendors to help.
Earlier this week, the FBI had issued subpoenas in the Loretto hospital investigation. Has the city received any, and have you all cooperated?
You're asking if we've received any subpoenas? I'm not aware that we've received any subpoenas, but yes, we are cooperating.
And in what way are you cooperating? If not subpoenas, what then is what?
They've asked individuals questions about things related to Loretto. I don't want to go any further because there is an ongoing federal investigation, but of course we've cooperated.
All right. When you say they, who is they?
I'm not going to go any further than what I've gone right now.
Kai Martin, NBC5.
Hey, Mayor. I have a question for you about the Chicago Park District Board President Avis Lavelle. Mm-hmm. What's your confidence level in her leadership and her response to the scandal in the Park District, saying that she didn't know what was going on and she trusted Kelly?
Both between the Park District, the acting IG, and the outside counsel, they identified a lot of problems that validated the concerns that these young women brought forward. And that, to me, is the most important thing that's come out of this week. We cannot have a situation where young women in particular, but any person in a workplace, is talking about abuse, bullying, and God forbid, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and those concerns and complaints are not taken seriously. I'm very disappointed and distressed to see what has happened and unfolded in the lifeguard program. The thing that I tasked Interim General Superintendent Rosa Escarena to do is to look across the park and what we've seen, and I think this week's announcements clearly show that the former general and superintendent repeatedly lied, and repeatedly lied publicly about what he knew, when he knew it, and what actions that he were taken. And I also want to say we can't live in a world where people retaliated against because they have stepped forward. Avis Lavelle, I will say this. Avis Lavelle has given a lot of service to this city over decades, stretching in different departments, different mayors, and different opportunities where she has served. I know that this has been a very trying time for her personally, professionally, and very difficult on her family. My expectation is that she will be making a decision relatively soon about what her future will be with the Park District, and I'm sure you'll hear from her at that time.
One more quickly,
Sure.
On a different topic, totally different.
Okay.
Chicago Casino.
Mhm.
Please tell us the timeline and what your top sites are.
Well, I can't tell you the second question, which is top sites, and I won't do that until we make a final decision. But I will say that I'm very excited by the proposals that we got a week ago. I think they were all very interesting, very robust, well thought out. Our team is still going through and analyzing them. Our expectation is that we will bring the various respondents in and let them do presentations, and that I would like to get a finalist to recommend to the Illinois Gaming Board, excuse me, sometime in the first quarter of next year. We're very, very interested in moving this process along as expeditiously as possible, because, as you know, the revenue from that casino will fund our police and fire pensions, and no time like the present for that.
All right, Rosa.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm planning or Interim Superintendent Rosa Escarino could reassure remains in place. What do you say to parents who are now worried about their girls who work for the Park District?
Well, look, I think it's a bigger issue than perhaps the frame of your question. I know there are kids in the city who regard themselves as Park District kids that started going to the Park District at an early age, participating in a range of different programming throughout the course of the year, in the summer. Many of those kids come back and work as volunteers and then as paid staff. So the Park District has a long history of really supporting kids all across our city. And I want to make sure that there never again be any question that every single Park District program, not just the lifeguard program, but every single program is run with the highest level of integrity and making sure that kids' safety and learning and being in a nurturing environment is put front and center. And I clearly, what this and we have an obligation to assure our parents that their kids are safe and will learn and thrive and have fun at the Park District. I send my daughter to the Park District. So I'm speaking not just as a mayor, but as a parent of a kid who has benefited from Park District programming. And clearly, what we had heard before, that we've wiped the slate clean, we put in new systems and controls, that just wasn't true. And so Rosa Escranio, I have great confidence in her. I have great confidence in the and as CEO Martinez said, we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable because we're dealing with children. That is first and foremost. And I think everybody understands that important message. I've been very emphatic in my conversations, both with Park District personnel, but also with board members, that
that need an investigation in and of itself of the Park District Board and their specific conduct?
Look, the state's attorney is conducting, I think, a fulsome investigation, and I think a lot of things will be covered, particularly regarding board interactions, and I expect that will be covered in the state's attorney's work.
This one's from me again. Before the school year started...
I heard you had fun the other day at the press conference.
I did. Before the school year started, parents were assured that their students would be tested once a week, and that has not happened, and now will now have second thoughts about trusting the city and this health department to get their kids vaccinated.
No, I think you're conflating a lot of things. Look, I don't need to speak for Dr. Arty or for CEO Martinez, but I will. Throughout this pandemic, we have been very transparent to protect themselves as individuals, but also for their children. We have a very thorough, very well thought out vaccination distribution plan that we've implemented first for adults starting in mid-December of last year, then with the 12 to 17-year-olds, and now with the 5 to 11-year-olds. I have every confidence that we're going to be able to execute at a very high level because we have partnerships, and we've learned a lot over the course of this now almost last year about what works. We're seeing on the ground, and we'll make the adjustments necessary. But the plan itself, I think, is very well tested because we've done it in partnership with community stakeholders, local healthcare providers, and just as you heard, there's been a lot of planning that's going into place now for months, knowing that this moment would come. So I think we're ready, and parents should have every confidence.
From Fran Spielman of the Sun-Times, are you prepared to sign a new ward map with fewer than 18 wards with a majority of
on what that map looks like? I've been very clear about the fact that there's got to be some public process for the maps, but we're not there yet.
One more from the Daily Line.
That's all right. Let her have one more.
Sports betting ordinance that will receive a subject matter hearing. Are you concerned that if that's approved, it would cannibalize that Chicago casino we were just talking about?
Well, I think
from the Daily Line.
Yeah, I think you'll have to wait to see what the testimony is on Monday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.